Hi guys, this is a new section. We are just finished with quiz over section 1 through 4, and this is chapter 9, section 5. And objective is that you can distinguish and write a correct variation. So there are 4 types of variation: direct, joint, inverse, and combined. And that when you read the word problem, that you would know which variation to use and solve correctly. So let's look at the very first kind, which is the direct variation. So direct variation will have a wording something like this: y varies directly with x. So what that means is that it looks like a linear function that has a y-intercept at 0, 0. So this k, we often use it as a k, but it doesn't have to be k, it can be any other constant, is a number, guys, okay? Even though it's right now written in a form of variable, it's because we haven't found what that k is, but k is called constant of variation, and it's probably the first thing that you need to find in the variation problem so that you can solve the rest of the problem. So again, the wording is y varies directly with x. So when you have that wording, what you do is that you put y on one side equals k times x, or some number times x. Okay, so let's look at the example. It says if r varies directly as t, so k times t, okay, because it's a direct variation. And then it gives you a clue so that you can find what k is. So r is 20, negative 20, when t is 4. So then this way we know what k is, right? K is, you divide each side by 4. K is negative 5. So then I can rewrite this equation I wrote here, r equal negative 5t. And what we really need to find is, I think, find r, it says find r when t is equal to negative 6. So let's plug in negative 6 where t is. So then r is negative 5 times negative 6, which is 30. So the answer is r equals 30. Sorry, it's asking for r. Okay, so not so bad, right? Direct variation. You write it as y something equal k times another variable. Okay, it's always multiplied. The constant of variation and then the variables are multiplied. Joint variation is very similar to the direct variation, but it will say something like this: y varies jointly with, you have x and z. So now the variables are 2. So how do you write this? Very similarly, y varies, you need the constant of variation always, times x times z. When it varies jointly, they are all multiplied together. So let's look at the example below. It says r varies jointly as v and t. Okay, so we need to find k first. And so this is what I'm looking for. So I need to use this information to find k. So let's plug in what I see. 70 is equal to k times 10 times 4. So again, all we need to do is that we divide both sides by 40 because 10 times 4 is 40. So then k is 7 over 4. Okay? Just leave it as a fraction because that's okay. And then we need to now find r. So we want to know what r is when I know that k is 7 over 4. And it says v is 2 and t is 8. So then I'm going to reduce these into 2. So 2 times 2 times 7, which is 28. So r is equal to 28. And we're done. So again, direct and joint variation are very similar because they are multiplied altogether. Inverse variation, however, you can see from the word inverse, it will say something like this. Y varies inversely with as x. So then, instead of having, so you still need k, because k is always there. Instead of having x multiplied to k, you are going to divide the k by x. So obviously, x cannot equal 0, right? And then y cannot equal 0 because k can't equal 0. Another way you might see this represent is that xy is equal to some constant k. Okay, so this is the most, I guess, this is how I usually write it, but then if a problem gives you this form, know that it's inverse, okay? So if you isolate y by dividing both sides by x, you know that it looks inverse. All right, so let's look at this. It says x varies inversely as y. Okay, so whatever comes first is something equal to, okay? So then, or I can write it as xy times k. And I will show you how they are the same. So let's plug in the number that's given here. So it says 24 is k over y. Sorry, 4, because y is 4. Or you can do 24 times 4, which is k. So you can see how writing it this way is just a one step to find k, whereas this one, you need to still multiply to find k. So it's 80 times 96. And then, since now I have k, I need to find x. So then I can plug it into x equal 96 over 12. And I think x is 8. Okay, so that's inverse. Last one, it's a combined variation. So combined variation is that it's a variation that combines either direct, joint, inverse. So this one I can't really give you a example. You just need to understand inverse and direct variation well in the joint variation, so that you can write an correct equation. So let me just go straight to the example to show you what it looks like. It says P varies directly as R, okay? And then it says P varies inversely as T. So instead of writing two separate equations, what you do is that you write it as a one equation. And the reason that the R goes below is because it's inversely. Okay, so inverse was always that variable goes in the denominator. So then it says find t when r is equal to, it's supposed to be 10. Sorry, what the typo. So let's find k first. Sorry, p is -5 and k I don't know. R is 10 and so this is what we want to find. So sorry. It says find, but it says if, so let's look at the if. So P is 4 when I don't know K, but R is 2 and T is 20. So then I'm going to reduce this to 10 and then multiply both sides by 10. So then K is 40. Okay, so I write 40 here instead. To find T, it's -5 is equal to 400 over t, right? But to find t, I need to multiply both sides by t. So -5t is 400. And then I need to divide both sides by -5. So then t is equal to -80. And that's it. So if you understood the first three variations well, then combined variation wouldn't be so hard. but I want to look at at least one word problem, and then I'm gonna show you the homework problem that you have to do from 33 to 41. The even problem, so that you have a little more idea. All right, so I'm on page 590. If you have a textbook, you can follow along because I don't want to write the whole problem. And I'm gonna do number 16 because I didn't assign you number 16. It says, according to the AC Nielsen Company, the average American watches 4 hours of television a day. Okay? It says, write an equation to represent the average number of hours spent watching television by M household members during a period of D days. So we know that average American, so one person watches 4, okay? And M household members is that there are M people in one house, and they want to know that for a period of D days. So it's joint variation. Even though they don't say they are jointly varies by M and D, if I understood the question correctly, this is what it is. Okay. And then second one is assume that the members of your household watch the same amount of TV each day as the average American, and how many hours of television would the members of your household watch in week, right? So for example, my household is just me, right? So member is 1 because there is only me and no other person, although I don't watch TV. And then it's asking for a week worth of an hour. So D is equal to 7 because there are 7 days in a week. So it's 4 times 1 times 7. So I can say on average, I'm watching 28 hours of TV in a week. Okay, so word problem might be a little bit tricky because you need to be interpreting the question well enough to write an equation. So do your best, but if you are confused about something, feel free to email me. All right, let's look at 32. It's asking to say either direct, joint, inverse, combined, and then find the constant of variation. So it says x over y equal 2.75, and that's 32, okay? And so I know in the beginning, it looks like a inverse, but it's not, right? Because if you remember inverse, it's x, y is k, and this one is x over y is k because k is this number. K is always a number, okay, guys? So the constant of variation in number 32 is 2.75. And this one, if I make it look, if I multiply both sides by y, this is x varies directly as y, okay? So this is a direct variation. So you need to think about a little more than just like glance over and see what the form is. You need to actually kind of manipulate a little bit to see. Number 34 looks like this. A equal 3bc. So what is the number? This one. So that's the k variation, constant of variation. And it's a b and c multiplied together. So this is a joint variation. I hope that makes sense what I'm doing. This one, 38, is a strange looking one. So I'm gonna try. So we know that k is 9, right? So, but then there are 2 variables on the right side, and we always want one variable equal to something, right? So let me just divide it by p. It doesn't matter which one I divide it by, but I know for sure this is combined. So if I would say it in words, it would be r varies directly as n, and directly varies as n, and inversely varies as p. Okay, so even if you divide it by r instead, you can still say this is combined, k being 9. So I hope this helps you to start your homework for today. And if you have any trouble, feel free to contact me, and I'll be available. I will see you tomorrow, guys. Bye.